What's up, YouTube? So today is a new day, last day in Minnesota. And again, not really sure what the day entails, but right now I'm just out exploring the Superior shoreline, and then maybe later I might go to a waterfall. Yeah. So I think I do know what the day entails. But yeah, right now just exploring the shoreline, and let's see if we can find anything cool. After exploring the shoreline, my family and I went to one of the more popular destinations in Minnesota and headed over to one of the waterfalls. Much to my mother's chagrin, we ended up setting a bad example for the rest of the tourists and climbed down the rocks near the water, bypassing the chain link fence. After going down our makeshift path and then looking back to see that we had inspired a few other adventurous tourists to come down that way too, we ended up just making our way across the beach and over to this man-made rock wall, which after further inspection I realized you could go across and get to the other side of the beach. After meeting with my family on the other side of the rock wall, we ended up hiking another 5 miles to get to the waterfall. The hike seemed to go by pretty fast. It was just gorgeous view after gorgeous view, and the layout of the national park was just amazing. Around this point, my brother noticed that there was a few trees that had been uprooted, and we decided to check them out.
No, it's not all the way around. Wait, wait. I'm gonna go right here.
Go ahead. Be careful.
We got some really cool pictures, which you'll be able to check out on my Instagram, but it was a really cool experience. The way the trees were still growing, even after they had fallen over, was just so cool. Of course, I had to try to do a handstand when we got to the waterfall, but after doing this, I realized that it didn't feel as satisfying as the one that I had done on the mountain, and I started looking for a new little challenge to do. I had noticed a small cave-like structure when we had been walking up to the waterfall, So I started trying to look for that and realized that it was like really close to where we were, and I made my way down this path and over to what I thought was a cave. Upon further inspection though, it ended up just being like a little divot in the rock face, so you can see all the way inside, and there wasn't much inside, so I decided just to climb around and maybe get a shot from above. All the climbs were amazing and really fun and physically challenging. I was always really careful and just try to make sure that my hand placement was good, because with the braces I didn't have a lot of foot feeling, so I couldn't really tell if my feet were gripping onto any of the actual surfaces. So it was more just an upper body workout. It was still super satisfying to find new challenges though on the rock face. Even though they weren't the most challenging, it was fun just scrambling around on some of the rocks. After making my way over to the underside of the bridge, I was looking around and I saw that there had been another whole spot that had another waterfall that I hadn't even seen before. So I started going up to that waterfall, which actually was higher than the rest since it was where the waterfall started. And this is where I found where I wanted to handstand. Right here. It was just such a perfect spot, and I got such good photos, and I just wanted to go up, check it out, and see. The main problem I was finding though was that though my dad was just able to hop across these rocks, I couldn't do that with my braces, so I had to look for another way to get up to the waterfall, and I decided just to try climbing up the rock face to get there. When climbing, the first part was really easy. The vines and the tree trunks of a lot of the trees were just super easy to grab onto. So I was using those to just kind of climb up using the roots and stuff. But then when I got to the actual rock face, it was a lot harder. The grips were a lot smaller, and I wasn't finding the right grips. And there was a point where I thought I wasn't going to be able to get up and take the picture for the handstand. Eventually though, after looking around and feeling around the rocks, I was able to find decent enough grips and get up to parts where the roots of the smaller trees were sticking out, which let me grab onto them and just really pull my way all the way up to the top. There was another of those times that I just had to be really careful. I didn't want to rip any of the trees out of the rock face. I didn't want to damage any of the plants growing there, so I just made sure to watch where I was putting my hands and watch where my feet were going. As I was going up higher and higher, it just got a lot more sketchy, because if I fell, there'd be that much more height to fall from. So I made sure to take my time and just be really careful the entire time going up. I eventually did make it up to the top after a long time. The soil was getting a little sketchier. It was starting to fall away, and I definitely didn't want to damage any of the plants growing there, so I tried to grab onto as much rock face as possible, with also still being safe and looking out for my own well-being. And when I made it to the top, it was just an even better view than I imagined. It was just really, really cool to look down and see the whole waterfall part of the park just from one angle above. and then I had to descend back down to get to the waterfall part of it. So being just as careful not to damage any of the plants or rock face that was there, I started making my way down and just was careful again to grab onto things that I knew were going to be more stable, and I tested the surfaces to make sure that I wasn't going to be grabbing onto anything that would just rip out in my hands, one for my own well-being and one for the just park, because I didn't want to damage any of the roots. After getting down to where the water was, I had to kind of reevaluate and see if this was something I was going to be able to do. It was definitely a lot sketchier than my first handstand, so I was really careful getting out onto the ledge and feeling around. I set the GoPro down to get this angle, and as you can see, I was just trying to make sure it was something I had to think about. I was like, do I have enough balance to be able to do something like this, or is this just going to be something where I tip off backwards into the rocks and water, which I definitely didn't want to happen. But after brushing off a few things and blowing on the rock to get it as clean as possible, I went out to the ledge and just decided that I could do it. And this is the picture I got, which I thought turned out really nice. And now we're back in Beloit, so stay tuned. Lots of fun stuff happening. I hope you guys enjoyed those 2 videos. We're a pretty small channel, so please like, subscribe, and share around. All the support is appreciated. Until next time.